Hey everyone, it's Hamish from the Young Investors Podcast. Myself and Brandon are excited to bring you your weekly rundown of the latest business and investing news from around the world. A quick reminder before we get started, any advice provided by Brandon is general and does not consider your financial situation, needs, or objectives, so consider whether it's appropriate for you. Brandon van der Kolk is authorized to provide general financial product advice in Australia and is authorized representative number 1305795 of Guideway Financial Services Proprietary Limited, AFSL number 420367. Please see the description box for Brandon's financial services guide. Past performance is not a reliable indication of future investment returns. But with that said, let's get into another episode of the Young Investors Podcast.
All right, guys, welcome back to yet another episode. We are back. How you going, Hamish? What's cracking, my friend? How you been? What you been up to? What's going on?
I've been up to the same thing that I've been up to every week this entire year, making YouTube videos. Yeah, you just mentioned before we started, it was of course the famous Black Friday last week, and you were like, yeah, we can talk about it. What did you buy over the weekend? And I bought precisely nothing. So that was my.
You don't do like your Christmas shopping on Black Friday or something like that?
I did.
That's what I did.
Yeah, I always plan to do that. I did that last year, and it was really good. I got all of my Christmas shopping done. I think it was last year or maybe the year before, all over that weekend, and it was great. But no, I didn't do it this time, so I missed out.
Oh,
yeah,
you did miss out.
You?
I've done everything.
Wow.
I've only got. No, actually, not quite everything. I've just got to get something for my sister, and for Tash. And apart from that, I'm set. I'm good to go.
Lucky you.
Yep. Lucky me. No, organised me.
Yeah.
Not lucky me, Hamish.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't just happen. It didn't just happen to you. No, but it is really good when it's so good when you get all your Christmas like gifts and stuff organised early. I've just been so busy. I kind of prioritized getting the content done early this year, whereas last year I prioritized the presents and the family stuff, and then I was still just making content into the end of the year, whereas this year I'm trying to make an effort of taking a genuine break at the end of the year for at least a couple of weeks. So that's been
that'll be good.
My priority at the moment.
Yeah, I would like to. I didn't realize how much stuff I'm committed to in December.
Oh no.
In terms of content, like sponsor stuff and whatnot. So I've only got myself to blame, but I've put myself under pressure. So I've got to come up with quite a few content ideas over the next couple of weeks, because I too want to have some time off, but it's not looking likely at the moment. Anyway.
Dear.
All right, what are we talking about today, dude? What have you got?
Well, I've got just a short update. We'll talk about Bitcoin for a little bit because, of course, a very significant milestone was reached throughout the week. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I'm also going to talk through Australia's latest GDP data, which usually is kind of a very quick story and there's not too much to talk about, but there's actually quite an interesting story behind some of the Australian economic data that was released last week, earlier this week. So I'll take us through that. What have you got for us?
Elon Musk, his pay package has, you know how the shareholders voted to the judge kicked up a stink, and then the shareholders said, no, we want this to happen. Well, we've had some very big developments. It's gone back to the judge, and the outcome is very interesting. We'll talk about that.
All right.
And then if we got time, we'll talk about McKinsey, a global consulting firm, because they've done an oopsie. They've done an Adani. Yeah, they've done an Adani.
A big oopsie.
A big oopsie. Yeah. So we'll see if we've got time. That's a quick story at the end if we get around to it. But yes.
All right. Well, with that said, today's episode is brought to you by Seeking Alpha, your one-stop shop for stock analysis, market data, and news. Access expert analysis and news for thousands of stocks. View, buy, hold, and sell ratings from members, Wall Street analysts, and Seeking Alpha's own algorithm. Screen for stocks using a variety of fundamental and technical analysis metrics. Access 10 years of financial data and company filings, and manage your portfolio by tracking your investments with price alerts, so you never miss a buying opportunity again. Click the link in the episode description or head directly to seekingalpha.me/young investors to try Seeking Alpha free for 7 days.
All right, should we talk about Bitcoin?
Yes.
We're both big advocates for Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
For the longest time, it's been close to 100% of our portfolios.
Correct. I'm actually leveraged on Bitcoin, so I'm over 100%.
Wow.
But speak for yourself. Yeah. coward.
And now we're quintillionaires.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, of course, the news is that Bitcoin hit $100,000 per coin. And I saw a news article recirculating about the guy who spent 10,000 Bitcoin on two pizzas. Must have been in 2013 or 2014 or something. And the irony of that is now he would have been, a billionaire. Today would have been, or like this week would have been the week that he would have been a billionaire on those 10,000 Bitcoin, which is quite funny. Yeah, spending $500 million a pizza. So
that pizza better have tasted bloody good.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope he took some photos. He's got some memories.
Frame it, put it on the wall. That sucks.
Yeah, that's got to be.
I feel for him.
Yeah, that's got to be quite painful. I mean, if it was like a small amount, like if you had like a few Bitcoin in a decade ago or something, sure, you'd probably feel kind of upset about that. Definitely you would. But 10,000, if you had 10,000, that's kind of crazy. But anyway,
yeah,
hope he's doing all right. But the news this week is...
Hope he's still alive.
Yeah, the news this week is, of course, Bitcoin has hit $100,000. Crazy. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
The move comes after President-elect Donald Trump announces plans to nominate Paul Atkins as chair of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission. If confirmed, he will replace the current chair, Gary Gensler, who has been viewed negatively by a lot of the crypto community for trying to clamp down and regulate the crypto market. So that was kind of the final kind of catalyst that pushed it over the mark. It had been kind of bumping around like 90,000 US dollars for a bit over a week, I think. It kept trying to like hit 100,000, and then it seemed like there was I guess a lot of people who maybe set 100,000 as their point of getting out. So every time it got close, people kind of pushed it back down. In terms of Atkins, the nominated chair for the SEC, I thought it was kind of funny. The last time he was chair of the SEC was 2002 to 2008. And I don't think that was the lead up to anything bad that happened in financial markets. 2002 to 2008. No. I don't think there was a bubble forming during that time. So I think he did. I think he regulated and monitored.
If you look at that time period, that would have been a very, very good time. So he's left at the right time.
Yeah, he got out. Yeah, exactly. He got in at the bottom. He got in at the bottom right after the recession that came after 9/11, and then he got out right at the top.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Smart man. Smart man.
No, of course you can't blame him for that. But I thought that was actually just quite funny that he just his last time as chair was like the bull market right before the great the Great Recession.
Yeah, the global financial crisis.
Yeah,
and the fact that he's the head of the SEC too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So that was kind of the final catalyst that pushed it over 100,000 a coin. This of course comes on top of a much larger surge that's been happening over the last year, really. At the start of the year, it was 44,000 a coin, which means it's up 120% year to date.
Wow.
And it's up 45% since the election on the hope of Trump's pro-cryptocurrency reforms, including potentially a US Bitcoin reserve or stockpile and things such as no taxes on crypto transactions. Bitcoin's been pretty hot this year.
That's wild.
Yeah. The other thing to note, as I was kind of putting this together, as of right now, it's actually, the price of Bitcoin is actually back under 100,000. So it only managed to stay there for about 17 hours. So I guess we'll see if it goes back up or, I don't know. It is kind of an interesting psychological question, I guess, because for a lot of people, I'm sure, 100,000 was, the point at which they said they were going to get out. So I guess the question is, do people kind of live by that if they got in a long time ago, or are they still going to be kind of, tempted to stay in and see more gains or something like that? Who knows?
It's cheap now, Hamish. It's under 100K. You should get in.
That's true. What did Kathy Wood say? She said what did she say? Like 17 million a coin or something? She said something.
Really?
No, she said.
Really?
She said something insane. It was like, I think it was like 13 million a coin. She said, yeah, that's what it was. It was 13 million a coin. which would
the thing with Bitcoin, we always say this, is like how can you guess that? I don't know how you can guess that.
Yeah, that's like it's like, what is it? Is it over or close to $200 trillion in market cap? That would be. So, no, that's not going to happen.
Based on what?
Based on what? The one that I don't think it really makes sense, but the one that at least is in the realm of, the real world is people saying it could go to a million a coin, because then it would have the market cap of the supply of gold, well, the price, all of the supply of gold.
Oh, I see.
So I think that's probably still quite insane, but that's at least kind of one benchmark some people use who are really bullish on crypto is if it goes to a million a coin, the value of all of the Bitcoin would have what the value of all of the gold currently has. But of course, the question is, where's the wealth going to come from? It's not like, that would have to be essentially Bitcoin replacing gold as the store of value that people use against kind of fiat currency. So
interesting.
So yeah, there you go.
Well, good luck to them. Good luck. Have you ever held any form of cryptocurrency ever?
Yeah, I have a very small amount of Bitcoin that I bought just because I wanted to. Yeah, like an absolute tiny amount. Like what would it be?
Right.
It would be maybe like 0.2 or 0.3% of my money.
Oh,
like literally like the tiniest amount. Just because I was just curious. I just wanted to see, how long like a transaction took to take place and just understand how it worked.
Interesting.
So yeah, but no actual investment in cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, me neither. All right, very interesting. Good luck to all those out there that hold crypto.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something different. Probably the other big news story of the week was Elon Musk's pay package. And we know what happened. It got, the shareholders approved this mega compensation deal, and then it went to a judge, and the judge said, actually, I don't like that. That seems egregious. And so Tesla took it back to the shareholders again. And the shareholders said, no, we're voting in favor of this. We want this. We think it's fair. We're okay with it. And it's gone back to the judge, and the judge has shot it down for a second time.
Wait, what?
Yeah. The judge has shot it down for a second time. It says here, a judge in the United States has upheld a decision to deny Tesla CEO Elon Musk a multi-billion-dollar pay package despite shareholders voting to restore the compensation deal. The decision by a Delaware judge on Monday reaffirmed an earlier ruling to void the pay deal on the basis that Tesla's board was too close to Musk and had not sufficiently protected shareholders' interests. Kathleen McCormick of Delaware's Court of Chancery found that there was no legal precedent to reverse her earlier ruling that if courts condoned, quote, the practice of allowing defeated parties to create new facts for the purpose of revising judgments, lawsuits would become interminable. Quote, the large and talented group of defense firms got creative with the ratification argument, but their unprecedented theories go against multiple strains of settled law, McCormick wrote in a 103-page opinion.
Okay.
McCormick also found that Tesla had made, quote, material misstatements to shareholders about the effect of their vote to reinstate Musk's pay deal. McCormick also rejected a request for $5 billion in fees sought by the lawyers of plaintiff Richard Tornetta, a Tesla shareholder who brought the original lawsuit accusing Tesla's board of not acting independently of Musk, instead granting the amount of $345 million. So that's pretty hectic. The plaintiff was looking for $5 billion in fees, didn't get that, but still got $345 million out of Tesla.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
So it sounds like it's kind of just a legal, like this judge just, it seems like the way that they've gone about appealing this just doesn't, I don't know, it isn't the way that these cases go. Like it sounds like if there was
she said there was no precedent.
Yeah, so like if there was new evidence just found, then you can kind of come back to the case, I guess, and they can appeal it. But if they create new evidence, which is kind of, I guess, what they did by redoing the vote, like they kind of they kind of made new evidence, then I guess that's the point. So maybe he can create a new pay compensation package and then get it approved somehow? I don't know. Can they retroactively do that? I'm not sure. That's what I assumed they were doing when they redid the vote. I essentially assumed that they created like a new compensation package and then just got people to vote on it so that it couldn't be shot down. But I don't know. Yeah, strange.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting one. What else does it say here? After McCormick's decision to block the deal earlier this year, Tesla shareholders in June voted overwhelmingly to reinstate the package. Tesla on Monday said the court's decision was, quote, wrong, and that it would appeal the decision. Quote, this ruling, if not overturned, means that judges and plaintiffs' lawyers run Delaware companies rather than the rightful owners, the shareholders, the electric car company said on X. What do you think about that statement, Hamish? Because I personally, I agree with that statement. Because the way I see this, I'll give my opinion. The way that I see this is that, okay, you could make the argument that Elon Musk is too close to Tesla's board. But Tesla they came up with this compensation package, and then shareholders, so just institutions, everybody that holds the shares, me, everybody, we then went out and we voted on it and said, yeah, we're okay with that. As like a core principle, how does it strike you?
So was there actually a vote on the first? I don't know enough about this case. So there was actually a vote, or was it just that the board approved it? Because I think like that it would probably make a big difference to me. Whether it was just like the board of directors just approved the compensation plan, or whether it actually went to a vote where shareholders voted on it on the first time. Because if it was just the board of directors, then I think you could make an argument that it is possible that Musk could have pushed them to pay him more than the shareholders would have wanted. But certainly, given now that shareholders have voted again, or at least they voted recently, I think it certainly should be approved. But I would have to look more at like kind of the facts of the case. It wasn't one I looked too closely at the first time it came up.
Tesla's shareholders approved Elon Musk's original compensation plan in 2018.
Okay. So
in March 2018, around 73% of shareholders voted in favor for this package.
Okay, yeah. So that's bizarre. That is bizarre that you can have a court say that. Say that that's void when people voted on it. Like if people voted, they voted for it. I would understand if it was a decision that the board made on behalf of the shareholders and they were kind of challenging that. But if the shareholders literally voted on it and they had all of the facts about what it would pay him out when, if it reached its highest kind of tier or whatever, the different levels that he had in his compensation plan, then I think it's strange that's the case.
The thing that blows my mind about this as well is, sure, you can definitely make the argument that this is an egregious pay package. It's the biggest pay package we've ever seen for a CEO by a massive margin. It's worth $56 billion.
It's crazy.
And in fact, I think it says now with the stock where it is, it's now worth $101 billion.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. However, he's not just getting that for showing up to work. That's not how the arrangement was structured. Elon had to meet a certain, there were 12 tranches of company performance and market cap performance that the company had to meet for the next tier of that plan to vest. So it's not like he's nabbing $100-something billion off of shareholders. In fact, shareholders, the owners of this business, have done incredibly well over time. Yeah. And because they've done incredibly well over time, Elon Musk, the CEO, gets rewarded for that. So he's made the decisions that have meant that Tesla's stock price has gone up from I think it was a market cap of under $100 billion when this was first implemented, to now it's over $1 trillion, I think. And for that rise, the decisions he's made, the effort he's put in, and he now gets rewarded for that. He gets rewarded very, very handsomely. But shareholders benefit more.
Even if you thought it was unfair, if the shareholders voted on it, then it doesn't really matter. Like, that's your opinion.
Yes.
But if the shareholders agree, then you've agreed. It's like a contract. I think it's bizarre. Like, you can have your opinion that it's egregious or whatever, but if the plan was presented, the shareholders voted on it, then and there were, the majority said yes, then that should have been it.
It's essentially the judge saying, no, the shareholders are dumb. The shareholders don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is.
It's like, yes, they do. But the judge is stepping in saying, no, the shareholders are not capable of voting in their best interests of the company that they're invested in.
Yeah.
And I need to protect them from themselves. It's like, no, you don't. Like, that's pretty mean.
Yeah. Unless he lied, unless there's some fraud involved, that's a different story.
If there's fraud involved or something like that, but there's not. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah. So that is insane. I would at some point I'll have to go back and look at the original kind of 2018 compensation plan and how it was voted on and everything, because I don't know much about that. I only know a little bit about the recent revote and this court case. But I'd have to go back and have a look, because it is kind of crazy that this can happen.
Pretty wild, hey. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to talk about for that. We'll just have to see what happens next. I mean, Tesla say they're not gonna let this one fly. So I guess we'll see what happens next. But pretty insane, eh?
Yeah. All right. Should we talk about Australia's economy? Because we got some new GDP, some new economic data on Australia's economic output. And the headline is that the Australian economy continued to grow, as it has for quite a few quarters in a row. However, Australia is also still in a per capita recession. If you didn't know, Australia has been in a per capita recession for well over a year. So I want to break down some of the numbers, because some of the numbers look okay and some of the numbers look not so good. And I think it's kind of interesting to go into what's contributing to economic output in Australia and what's kind of retracting it, and what's behind some of the numbers. So headline real GDP growth was plus 0.3% in the last 3 months. So that's real GDP growth, so after inflation, and plus 0.8% in the last 12 months. So the Australian economy did grow in the last year, but at a very, very slow, very slow rate, less than 1%. And when you look into some of the numbers, it's kind of interesting. So in the quarter, state and federal government spending was plus 0.6 percentage points in the quarter, meaning GDP excluding government spending was actually down, negative 0.3% in the quarter. The government was spending, and this kind of came from big contributions from state government infrastructure spending and federal spending on defence. Treasurer Jim Chalmers said, without the contribution from public spending, the economy would have gone backwards. It's played a helpful role. We would rather be a part of a soft landing in the economy than a cleanup after a hard landing. That last bit is, all of that is certainly true. And then we can kind of get into, so government spending has been a kind of a big boost to the economy over the last year. But if you take it out, Australia was actually contracted. So what's going on with some of the other kind of components of the of GDP, of the economy? So if you take the expenditure approach to calculating economic growth, what you're doing is you're adding together government spending, household consumption, so household spending, business investment, and then net exports. So adding exports and subtracting imports. So in terms of net exports, they contributed 0.1 percentage points to GDP. So they contributed 0.1 out of the 0.3 increase. And that essentially was because exports grew while imports fell. So pretty simply. Then we have household consumption and business investment, which the ABS kind of lumps together and calls private demand, like the private sector. And essentially household consumption and business investment did not contribute or detract from GDP in the quarter. So it was basically the exact same as it was in the quarter before that. The ABS then also segments out inventory changes from business investment. So they kind of segment that out to look at how businesses have accumulated or let their inventories run down. And this one was quite interesting. It actually detracted 0.4 percentage points from GDP, which is actually, pretty significant. And essentially they said businesses let their inventories run down after a build-up in the last quarter. They said subdued household demand saw previously imported stocks not replenished, particularly in clothing, household items, and motor vehicles.
Right.
So essentially businesses had too much stock for the amount of demand that there was in the last 3 months, and they essentially just let their inventories run down.
So people aren't really they're not really spending their money that much at the moment.
Correct. And yeah, so we can kind of go further into the numbers and see, why aren't households spending, right? So if you actually look at compensation of employees, so wages rose 1.4% in the quarter in real terms. So wages actually went up for households. However, that extra income isn't being spent. It's actually being saved. So the household saving rate rose. The household savings rate rose from rose to 3.2% from 1.5% last year. So that's a pretty considerable increase. This time last year, people were only saving on average 1.5%. Now it's 3.2%. And essentially, in simple terms, to understand all of this, things are a lot more expensive now than they were 2 years ago. Everyone's quite aware of that. And savings accounts earn much higher interest than 2 years ago. And so people are saving more, even when they make more. And and essentially that has resulted, at least in the last 3 months, and the last 12 months, in quite slow growth in the economy, in the private sector, and actually no growth in the last 3 months in of itself.
They're pocketing the extra cash. They're building the buffer. Because, you do get rewarded reasonably handsomely for keeping your money in the bank when interest rates are high. So
and over the long term, generally speaking, having lots of money in a savings account isn't going to be, that great, because you're not going to earn that much more than inflation. But certainly right now, you're actually earning quite a bit more in a high interest savings account. Than the rate of inflation. What is inflation? About 3%, I think, still sitting around
somewhere around there,
just above 3%, I think. And you can still get like 4.5, 4.7%,
4 point something percent. Yeah.
So that's kind of the state of how people are, choosing to kind of allocate their extra income, I guess. At least on average. So the economy overall has grown for 12 consecutive quarters. So we've had 12 consecutive quarters of GDP growth. However, the rate of growth has been kind of slowing pretty much every single quarter since September 2023. So it's been getting slower and slower and slower, which is exactly what you would expect in an environment with much higher interest rates. And then finally, we can, of course, look at economic growth on a per capita basis, on kind of a per person basis, which is another way to look at the economy. And it's also generally considered a better measure of where living standards have improved, right? So what's the GDP per person is going to be a better indication of living standards than just the overall GDP.
Makes sense.
That, of course, makes perfect sense. If a bunch of people come in from overseas migration and they bring money into the economy, but your personal kind of GDP per capita doesn't go up, then your standard of living, of course, hasn't improved. It's just kind of added to the whole basket.
Yep.
And Australia's GDP per capita fell in the second quarter. That is the 7th quarterly decline in a row. It was a negative 0.3% in the last quarter and negative 1.5% in the last year. So that's been kind of the story for quite a while now, almost 2 full years of just contracting economic growth on a per person basis, only kind of offset by the fact that Australia has in the last couple of years, but for a very long time, been a country that's had a lot more people coming here every single year. Which is certainly obviously a very good thing in terms of economic growth. But per capita growth is also important when we're talking about, how, like living standards and that sort of thing.
Yeah, right. Very interesting. I'm not sure if I have much more to add on that, because I'm certainly no expert when it comes to the Australian economy. Do you have more to add on that, Hamish, or that's just about it?
No, that's just about it. So I guess we'll see what happens. As is the case with economics, it's not too good to make predictions. I don't think. You just kind of we'll just watch it and watch and observe.
Watch and observe. Yeah, making a prediction, it's a bit of a fool's errand, isn't it?
yeah, exactly.
I think
right.
we've learned our lesson, learned to keep our mouth shut. That's why our favourite phrase on this podcast is, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Is that still on our YouTube banner? I think it was, at some point it was on our...
our YouTube banner is the best investing podcast on the planet. Oh no, it's allegedly the best investing podcast on the planet. And then it's got an asterisk, and then it says, according to people familiar with the matter.
That's right. Yeah. People familiar with the matter.
That's classic.
Yeah.
That's a funny theme we always like to make fun of as well.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much, I don't know, we should almost just ban the use of the phrase according to people familiar with the matter.
It's such a ridiculous notion that you can just write that, because no one can prove that there actually is a person.
Yeah. It's like
insane.
Totally like a self-assessment. Are you familiar with the matter? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just a journalist loophole. Like when they don't have any facts.
It's like, Hamish, are you familiar with current lipstick sales in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, I'm quite familiar, actually. Yeah, I'm very familiar.
According to people familiar with the matter.
And I tell you what, it's going to nosedive.
There you go. Yeah. Wall Street Journal. Lipstick sales plummet. Expected to plummet in Northern Ireland.
They picked that up from our podcast.
All right. Let's finish with this story about McKinsey. Yeah. They've done an Adani, mate. They've done an Adani. They've got stung for bribery. Oh, gosh. They clearly didn't pay them enough.
Rats.
McKinsey & Co. agreed to pay a fine of more than $122 million to resolve a felony bribery investigation stemming from its work in South Africa. Federal prosecutors in New York said in a filing unsealed on Thursday.
You know what? Just before you start this story, I do just find it kind of ironic that it's like a bribery charge, but the consequence is a fine, which is basically them just like, it's almost just a bribe. Like they're just paying the government to like make it go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
it is kind of funny, isn't it?
Anyway, sorry.
It's like, imagine if they make like a net profit off of paying the fine for bribery.
Yeah.
Like, how funny would that be? Sure, like, there's no way they would allow that to happen, but that would be kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like how it's kind of similar-ish to how the big tech companies almost are like factoring in how much they might have to pay in fines if they do a certain business tactic these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if we do this little antitrust thing, is it going to be worth it? We might get a fine of this amount. Yeah, it's probably worth it. Let's just do it anyway.
Yeah, like paying the EU whatever they pay them every single year. It's like billions of dollars. Yeah. It's just a
couple $1 billion. Yeah,
yeah. It's just a bribe to keep operating.
If we do this, can we make more than what we anticipate the fine is going to be?
Yeah,
yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway, they agreed to pay a fine of $122 million to resolve felony bribery investigation stemming from its work in South Africa. It is the latest in a string of legal penalties for the global consulting firm, which in recent years has agreed to pay about $1 billion in settlements for its work with opioid manufacturers. Eesh.
Right track record.
The fine announced Thursday was part of a deferred prosecution agreement that would dismiss the bribery charge against the company after 3 years if McKinsey meets the conditions of the deal. Separately, a former McKinsey senior partner, Vikas Sagar, who was a leader in its Johannesburg office, pleaded guilty to conspiring to violate an anti-corruption law, prosecutors said. So, the bribery investigation stemmed from work that McKinsey's South African branch performed, starting more than a decade ago for two state-owned companies, one overseeing the company's rundown electric generating system, and then the other managing its freight rail system and ports. So Mr. Sagar, the senior partner, received confidential information about the two companies that led to multi-million-dollar consulting contracts And in return, some of the money McKinsey and its local partners made was routed to 2 officials as bribes, prosecutors said. The subsidiary, McKinsey Africa, paid bribes to officials, to state-controlled utility companies between 2012 and 2016 in order to secure these lucrative consulting contracts, the DOJ said in a press release. Prosecutors said McKinsey Africa obtained confidential information from the 2 companies, Transnet SOC Limited and Eskom Holdings SOC Limited, about the contracts during its bidding process. It then submitted multi-million-dollar consulting engagement proposals, knowing that other South African consulting firms it had partnered with would pay part of their fees as bribes to Transnet and Eskom officials, the DOJ said. Quote, McKinsey Africa participated in a years-long scheme to bribe government officials in South Africa and unlawfully obtained a series of highly lucrative consulting engagements, end quote, that netted McKinsey $85 million in profits. Damian Williams, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, said in a statement. So $85 million in profits, that's obviously quite significant. But they got caught doing it. And I guess the financial significance of it was that McKinsey's work for the 2 South African companies at one point brought in almost half of the Johannesburg office's revenues.
Whoa.
So, yeah, this isn't just like one of their clients. This is like 50% plus of their revenue of this South African arm of their business. So it's like a very substantial part of the money that they were making.
That's crazy.
So they did an Adani. They got on the bribery train. They pulled an Adani and they got caught. Yeah.
That's insane. So 85 million in profit. What was the fine? 122 million dollar fine.
2 million. Yeah, something like that.
Crazy.
So a bit of a penalty. I actually didn't realize that they're also caught up in, what was it called? That opioid manufacturer, OxyContin. Purdue or something? Was it Purdue?
Purdue
Pharma. Yeah, Purdue Pharma.
Yeah, wow.
They were consulted to try and boost revenue, boost sales of OxyContin.
I'm starting to form a picture here. I'm trying to see the kind of work that they do. They're exactly. That guy. So it's like a Breaking Bad where they're like, you don't need a criminal lawyer, you need a criminal lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. That's a zinger line.
That's who you call McKinsey.
Yeah. Better Call Saul, also known as McKinsey.
Yeah.
Have you seen Better Call Saul, the TV show?
Not all of it. I've seen most of it. Yeah. I haven't picked it up again, but yeah, so good. Yeah, you really should. I watched it with Tash. Oh my gosh, it's a banger. We binged it so hard. It was so good. I really like it. Anyway. Yeah. I don't think I have anything more to say. They say McKinsey is deeply remorseful that an employee of our firm engaged in corrupt conduct. The firm said in a statement on Thursday, adding that it will continue to cooperate with South African and US authorities in its ongoing investigations. Remorse. Okay. I love when companies make a statement. Like it's like a legal entity. It doesn't have remorse. Like
exactly.
This isn't a human. Like this is a corporation that's sole purpose is to maximize profit. Like don't say it has it's deeply remorseful.
It reminds me of like when I play Civilization. Some of your enemies can like try and spy on you to steal your technologies. And then sometimes you can catch them, and then a pop-up comes up on the screen with the leader of the AI civilization going, "We are so deeply remorseful and sorry for spying on you." It's like, can you even like say that? It's like we are definitely engaging in bribery here. Do we think it's a smart plan? Yes, let's go ahead. Oh shit, we've been caught. We are deeply remorseful for our actions. We are so sorry, and we will never do them again. Yeah.
Do you reckon they would have had that same remorse if they didn't get caught?
I don't know. That's a good... Guys, today we're coming out to voluntarily admit that we were involved in bribery, and we're very remorseful. Yeah. Said no company ever.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Crazy.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, dude. That's it. That's all we got.
All right.
That's all we got, everybody.
GG.
That's it.
Yeah.
GG, everyone. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend, I guess, as you're listening to this. Thanks, Hamish, as always, for joining me.
No worries.
Enjoy your weekend as well. Have a good time. And we will be back, I guess, next week. Same time, same place. So we'll see you guys then.
See you guys.